What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to my tiny garage. My name is Jared, and we got a flat tire to fix in today's video, so let's hop on in and see if we can figure it out. First thing we'll do is put some air in it, because it is totally flat. See if we can spot a problem. Kind of rolled it around a little bit, didn't see any kind of nails in it, real obvious or anything like that. The only thing I can say is back on the back side here, there is a mark on the side of the wheel with a little bit of red paint there. I don't know if perhaps it was leaking around the bead at once upon a time, and that was marked from a tire shop, or not exactly sure. But we are going to figure it out here today. Let's get a little bit of air in here. Got about 12 pounds of air in there right now. What does our sidewall say as far as max on this? 20. All right. Well, it says 20. We're going to take it up to 20, and hopefully that'll make it a little bit easier to find our leak. There's 20. All right, let's see what we can find. So I'm going to use a little bit of soapy water. This is all this is. We're going to try to see if we can find a leak. So the soap helps bubbles up when it finds an air leak. So one of the places I like to start with is checking the valve stem. Don't see anything leaking there. So let's go ahead and try the bead of the tire, because that can be a very common problem. See if anything's leaking there at all. I can see a little bit happening right here. There's a few air bubbles coming through right there, which could very well possibly be it. But I'd like to make sure that there's not any more major leaks than just that. So we'll try the other side. We'll check that bead as well. This side's much worse. You can see here how it's all foaming up. Right over here. So our bead of the tire is leaking pretty badly. Okay. Well, that answers that. Now I'm just going to kind of roll it around here and listen and look one more time and see if I see any issues with the main part of the tire or anything stuck in the tire. Right here, it looks like we got something in the tire. You can see it's bubbling and fizzing a whole bunch. So we're going to mark that spot. We're going to want to take a look at that when we pull the tire off. Make this a little bit of a dry spot right here. And we're going to mark this. A little bit of paint. So we can hopefully find that spot again. So being that there is something stuck in the tire, I'm just going to go ahead and do the entire thing. So I'm just going to take some soapy water and let it run down over the tire. And see if we find any more leaks. Here's another leak right here. Got some more bubbles coming up through. Right in there. Right in the center. That's two. So it looks like what we got pretty much is 2 leaks in the tire itself and leaking beads. Okay, well, let's get this tire broken down and off of this wheel, so we can actually have a look-see and see what's going on the inside. I like using large truck mud flaps to lay tires down on. It provides just a little bit of cushion, gives you kind of a rubber surface, protects your wheel and stuff as you're working. Very nice way to do it. Take just a little bit of WD-40, spray it around here. Should help this bead slide off a little bit easier. There's a little bit of wood stuck in the bead. That's probably not super great. It's going to be one of the worst parts, getting this back off of here. But it usually pops right out like that. All right, let's have a look inside of our tire. First thing I can see, if you look right here at our bead, it is very torn up. It should look uniform, and of course we can see it's very torn up. Even over here, you can see, hopefully you can see, it's pretty torn up. So to me, that would mean that this tire had been run flat before. There's a previous repair. We come around to the outside, which would be in this little indent right there. I don't see any of our actual holes sticking through. At least not yet. Looks like they were barely through, if they were through at all. But overall, I would say our tire's in a little bit of some rough shape. It definitely has life left in it, but I don't think we're going to be able to get this to seal up very well. There you can see those ripples on the side of the tire. That indicates that it was run flat. So you want to be careful with these types of tires. If they're done too much, they can really weaken the sidewall, and you can't repair them or shouldn't repair them safely. So it's best to keep that in mind. Here you can see the cord showing through, which is going to give you oil leaks. This tire is repairable, but I believe it's only going to be repairable with a tube. So one of the things we're going to have to do is fix this patch up, because the way it's sticking up right now, if we put a tube in there to rub a hole in the tube with these corners, so we're going to need to fix that. And we'll take a look at these other holes and see if they're actually through or not. If they're not actually through, then we don't need to patch them on the inside. It might just be barely through and leaking through the liner. If the air's coming through the sidewall, and the liner can leak up and around and come out that way. So that's a possibility. So let me do some digging around on this, and we'll figure out a game plan on which way we want to go from here. I didn't really see that those other spots were actually through. I couldn't find any holes or anything like that. So I'm going to say most likely the culprit was, oh man, that's on there. I'm going to say that most likely our culprit was the just leaking through the liner at a point. So what do we have going on in here now? So right there we have a little hole. So we are going to want to patch that because that's going to rub through our tube if we don't. When it comes to patching this, we just need a really small patch like this, something that's going to mount pretty flush. And we have to sand a spot flush on the tire and get rid of these ribs so that the patch actually sticks flat to things. So we're going to take in a sander and we're going to be very gentle with this and sand a spot as smooth as we can. Looks pretty good, so we want to clean it. So we're going to use a little bit of cleaning spray and get that rubber nice and cleaned up to accept some glue. Dab a little bit of glue on here. And we're going to let that set up a little bit till it starts getting tacky, and then we'll put our patch on from there. Like our glue is dried up pretty good, so we're going to go ahead and put this patch on. We're going to center that right over the hole, like that. And we'll roll it flat. Get all the air pockets out of it. Since we're putting a tube in this, it's not super crucial, but if we were doing this tubeless, it'd be pretty crucial to make sure we get that rolled flat so that we can ensure a good seal. There we go. I will consider that to be patched and good to go. Once it comes to getting the wheel ready, we're going to go ahead and cut out our valve stem because we're going to be putting a tube in it. So of course we don't need this in the way. There we go. And we're just going to take a wire wheel and make sure that all the rust flakes and everything are off the bead and off this center part of the wheel. That way we can ensure that our tube isn't going to get punctured by anything in here. There we go. Should be ready to get this back together now with the tube. We're going to put just a little bit of tire mounting compound on our wheel. I'm sorry, on our tire. Hopefully get this to be able to slide on the wheel just a little bit easier. Put a little bit on there like that. And to get these started, you just kind of start one side and push it on till you can't anymore. And you just take a bar on the inside. You just start pulling it over. You have to put your foot in there and then just kind of pull that tire right down and over. I'll drop on something like that. When it comes to our tube, I like to that bag was plenty noisy. I like to ensure I get the tube in here the right way by putting just a little bit of air in it first. Not everyone does this, and if you get real good at it, you don't really have to. But I like to anyway, because even in the many years that I did tire work, I still occasionally would put one in backwards. So I like to ensure that I put the tube in the right way. Because the tube, of course, only goes in one way. Since it's offset in the wheel, your valve stem, of course, can't come out the center of the tube. It has to come out of the right side or the left side. So I don't like to make mistakes, because if you put it in backwards, you can potentially rip the valve stem right off. So I like to put a little bit of air in it first. That way it tells me which direction's which. There, you see what I mean? The valve stem's sticking out this side, but not this side. So that means if our valve stem hole on our wheel is right here on that side, means the tube wants to go in this way. I'm going to go ahead and push all the air back out that I can get. A little bit of air in there won't hurt, but it might make it a little bit harder to get the tube in. But from here, all you do, you just kind of push the wheel back in. You take your tube and you squeeze it around the wheel. You can do this on the ground, or you can do it sitting up like this. Honestly, whichever way you find it to be easier will work just fine. You get that tube pushed in there, and you get it worked around so that your valve stem comes out the valve hole. Something like that. Now you can do it a few different ways. You can put a vice grips on the valve stem so the valve stem doesn't drop back in the wheel. You can do that. Just make sure you don't crimp it too hard. Or you can do what I'm going to do. I'm going to just clip the air chuck right on the end of it. That way it should keep that tube from pulling back in as we put the other side of the tire on. Unless it's a very small tire, usually the ground is the easiest place to do this. Up there on the workbench, it can kind of fight you a little bit. So we're going to take a little bit of this bead grease again. We're going to lube up the tire bead. So we'll hopefully pop on here just a little bit easier. Now, when you do this, you want to start to the left or to the right of the valve stem. Doesn't matter which one. You just have to start on one side or the other. When you stretch this tire on, you're stretching it on. So you'll notice the wheel has two different lips. Out here it's wider, which is the size of your tire. In here it's narrower. So the tire, as you're stretching it on, it has to drop down in the wheel down into this lower portion. If you start right here, you're going to stretch that tire right over that valve stem. You're going to tear it. So you want to start on the left side or the right side. That way you start to one side of it and you finish on the other side of it. That way you're not going to mess up your tube valve stem at all. So for me, it's always easy for me to go left. So we're going to take a bar. We're going to hold it right there into place. Now it's important to be careful you don't pinch the tube with your bar. So as you're going around, you want to make sure that you don't get a hold of that tube. And you just start going around like this. Hold it on there with your foot. And just stretch this on the whole way around. And this will work for pretty much any tire. When you get to the last spot, it should just pop right over, just like that. You see why we have this hooked on there? If we didn't, we would have lost it. Now, you don't have to do this part when you do it too, but it does help. If you think about it, you're putting a bladder in the inside of the tire, so there's going to be trapped air between the tube and the tire. One way you can help that is if you take one of your bars and just hold in on the tire as the tube fills with air. Now, we'll, of course, want to push on this bar, so you don't want to go too far and let it fling out and hit you. But if you want to help get some of that air out, you can do that. If you don't, it's no big deal. It will usually just leak out around the valve stem down here over time. So we should be able to go ahead and start filling up our tube. Just going to stick a bar in here. It's starting to push on my bar pretty hard, so I'm just going to let go of it. There's our front bead seated up. Looks like our back bead isn't quite there yet. There it went. And we're just going to go till 20 psi, which is our limit. Almost there. There's 20. Should be good as new. Put our valve cap back on, valve stem cap, and customer should be ready to go and mow some more grass again. And there we go. Tire's all ready to go back on the machine. Nice simple little repair for us here today. But obviously you can't go into there anywhere without airing the tires, so kind of an important job, I guess. Drop me a comment down below. Let me know if you've ever fixed one of your tires, or maybe you've thought about it and weren't exactly sure of the process. And hopefully this video maybe made it a little bit easier to try to attempt it sometime. If you're not subscribed and want to see more of this kind of content, make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss any of our future uploads. And also like the video if you like it. It does help out the channel, and we do appreciate it. So with that, I am off to get this back on the machine so they can mow some more grass, and we will see you in the next video.